There were only 2 first-round picks in the AFC West this year, but plenty of NFL evaluators and GMs have a lot to say about the drafts in the division. Nolan Naraki's here to give us the inside scoop. Nolan, let's start in Denver, where John Elway's exhibited a lot more control in the front office in Denver for the last couple of years, and he and GM Brian Zanders parted ways this week. How did people see the draft that Elway had in his second year in the front office?
Well, they filled their biggest need at defensive tackle by trading out of the first round, moving back in the second, and picking up Derek Wolfe. A lot of teams felt like they reached in the second round with the selection of Brock Osweiler from Arizona State. Still somewhat of a developmental project. He'll have a year or two, hopefully, to learn underneath the wing of Peyton Manning. And if he's forced into action sooner than later, it could put him in a scary situation.
In Kansas City, they used their first 3 draft picks on enormous football players. It started with Dontari Poe in the first round with the 11th pick. What was the most surprising thing about the Chiefs draft this year?
I talked to one GM who said Scott Pioli may need to park a for sale sign in his front lawn. I don't think the draft was that bad, but what was a little bit surprising to evaluators was that he took players that seemed to have a little bit too much development in their curve. Dontari Poe is going to come in and be able to make some kind of an impact, but I don't know that he's going to be a true impact player for the Kansas City Chiefs defense right away. You got Donald Stevenson, who played very well at Oklahoma, but had a lot of questions about his character coming into the draft. I think that was a little bit of a surprise. And then even later in the draft with selections like Devon Wiley and Junior Hemingway, strong injury histories, not as much risk there later in the draft, but not very solid Scott Pioli type selections.
When we're doing the draft grades for these teams, it kind of seems like the developmental teams always have lower grades, but you look in the future, it could definitely go up. That's the case with the Chiefs. In Oakland, it's the first draft without Al Davis, and no surprise, it really had a different sort of feel to it. They weren't drafting the fastest player on the board every time. How did Reggie McKenzie do in his first year in Oakland?
Well, had Al still been alive, I think we would have saw Chris Rainey come off the board and go to Oakland. He always drafted the fastest player in the draft. This year it went to Pittsburgh, but I think what Reggie did was very solid. Tony Bergstrom and Miles Burris, I think, are both solid starters that, they may not make immediate impacts, but they're guys that will find a way into the lineup, solid football players that play with urgency.
In San Diego, I think GM A.J. Smith is not the type who's going to care one bit what people have to say about his draft, but with that said, what do you think of his draft?
You look in the first round, I think it caught some people off guard. I don't know that he was expecting Melvin Ingram to fall into his hands. It's really unique from talking to all the teams that I did. Most teams that were most interested were 4-3 teams. Saw him playing inside as a developmental 3 technique. I think that's why he wound up sliding down draft boards. A lot of 3-4 teams didn't really see a fit for him. They didn't think he'd be a great fit inside and thought his arms were short and didn't show the best instincts playing on his feet. So they didn't see a great fit in the 3-4 front. But A.J. Smith went ahead. He had a clear need there, and I think he was hoping he's going to land up value selection. So we'll see how that one works out.
Well, even if A.J. Smith doesn't care what everybody else thinks about his draft, we know our viewers do. We've got draft grades for all 32 teams and a draft confidential for each division. Just go check them out at our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ProFootballWeekly.